you guys, it's Britt. Tonight we're here to talk about the family vlogging channel Not Enough Nelsons. They've recently been doing some videos that came across my radar and I had some thoughts, so if you're interested, please keep watching. Alright you guys, so Not Enough Nelsons has a channel here on YouTube. They have about 1.8 million subscribers, so obviously a very large audience. And it's run by the parents Benji and Tiffany. They have a bunch of adopted kids. Now, I'm not really here to focus necessarily on their kids and kind of the things that are going on with them, but I want to talk about a recent series that Tiffany decided to do. But when I initially went to this channel, I've known about them for a while, but I wanted to refresh my memory and see what are their most popular videos. Like, what are they known for? And their most viewed videos, we got into a car accident. And if you go a little bit further down, lots of medical related emergencies and medical related content. You can also see rushing in ambulance to the emergency room. Emergency kits for teen girls. I don't like this. Like, nobody needs a YouTube video from a family vlogger to say what teen girls need in their back to school backpacks or anything like that. Like, these really personal hygiene and health related things are not content, and that's where I will always stand on it. If you go a little further down, you can also see rushing to the emergency room. There's also some day in the life kind of stuff, last to leave kind of challenges, last to fall asleep, last to leave. You know, this is pretty basic family vlogger content. One thing that the mom Tiffany does is she has this like birds and the bees talk with her children, and she will film it. And if that is not the most inappropriate thing to make content out of, she recently outdid herself, and she is doing their adoption stories. So right now there is 4 videos out, and they're not getting a ton of views considering the size of their channel. Part 1 has 353,000, part 2 has 222. Part 3 has 153 and part 4 has 149, and that was 3 days ago. I want to talk about this because YouTubers that adopt and foster children very often like to use that child as content. Now, we first saw this with Myka Stauffer, but you can also see it with other families as well, like the Dougherty Dozen, Not Enough Nelsons. And I know that there are others that I'm just not thinking about right now. When it comes to the backstory of kids that are brought in through foster care or adoption, if the foster or adopted parent knows their entire backstory, that's not theirs to share. If they know all of the details and maybe there was some trauma and maybe there were parents that were dealing with some kind of mental health issue or some sort of addiction or something like that, it drives me absolutely nuts to see these parents turn around and use their kids' stories as part of their content. It's been going on for way too long, and I would love to see YouTube and other social media platforms step in and say, no, this is it. You're not allowed to use a child's story if they are adopted or through foster care as part of your YouTube content. It needs to just be a blanket rule, because what these parents are doing, like Tiffany, is telling their child's story for them. And I will only go over this in a surface level because I know that I've mentioned it before, but just in case you've never watched any of my other videos and you're here, my entire stance is I try to put myself in the shoes of the child. And some kids don't want to talk about how they're adopted. And some of them don't want to talk about some really difficult years that they might have had with their birth parents or birth parent or previous caregivers. That might just be part of their story that they want to keep for them. And their partner, them and their best friend, or maybe just them themselves. And that's okay, because you're giving that child the power to keep their story to themselves. But when you have parents doing this kind of stuff, where they're jumping on their channels, making content, making series out of, making content out of their kids' backstories, you're literally stripping that away from the child. So what if they wanted to make a YouTube video when they turn 21 or 35 or whatever? It's already been out here. People already know. You used it for content before they could use their own story for content. In the comments of these videos, she's receiving a ton of praise, and I'm not sure if they're the type of family vlogging channel to really heavily monitor their comment sections. Many of them are, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just have, you know, a really tight grip on what comments actually come through and stay. But to receive so much praise by using your children's stories for your own financial gain, I think is appalling. This channel really has a business-like feel to it, like a lot of other family vlogging channels do. And it feels like the parents have been able to build this empire because of how heavily they focus on their children. And it's one thing, you know, if the kids are going to be part of the content, like I've always said, like there's a way to go about that. But when I saw this series come around of how she's really going into detail about the kids that are adopted and, you know, all of these details that the internet should not know, what if the child wanted to keep that to themselves? But you wanted something different than what your other content is, so you decided to come up with this series so you share their stories before they're able to. One of the things that really bothers me about this family vlogger culture is that the parents receive a ton of praise. And I realize that some people might look at this and say, oh, well, you know, she's an amazing mother, he's a great dad, like all of the compliments. But I hope that as an internet society, we can get to a point where these kinds of people are not given such large platforms anymore. If you are literally walking on your children's backs in order to build a brand that is a YouTube channel, I don't think that you should be allowed to monetize telling all of their business to the internet. And I don't think that I'm going to change my mind on that, but I came across this and I wanted to share it with you guys because I do talk about Alicia Dougherty a fair amount, and this again tied into the whole like, oh, this is us kind of thing. People don't need to know the backstory of your kids. And if they're asking that often, then that is a red flag, and that might be someone that you don't want as a subscriber, because that means that someone is getting far too invested in your children. And I will always say, as a parent, it is your role to safeguard these children from the weirdos that are on the internet. And I don't think by oversharing their stories as part of your content is putting their protection first and foremost. So have you guys heard about Not Enough Nelsons? Have you, seen any of their videos? Very tacky, not entertaining for me because, again, I don't watch kids online. But how do you feel about this sharing kids' stories before they're even able to share it themselves? And if y'all are adopted and you feel comfortable, put it in the comments. Like, is your adoption story something that you keep to yourself, close friends and family? Or, how would you feel if a bunch of strangers knew about it? I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. So for now, if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.